Today. This is a great turnout. My name is Tom Schneider. I'm a workforce specialist here with Dakota County, and we are having we decided our hiring event today was going to focus towards justice-involved individuals that need employment. So we rounded up employers that are willing to consider second chances for people that want to be in the workforce. So immediately after this, from 2 to 4, we're having the hiring event today. You're welcome to attend. That, but I thought, well, maybe we could have somebody that's been there, done that. It's easy for me to talk to people and say, well, keep trying, do this, do that. I haven't walked in those shoes. But the first person I thought of when I decided let's try to bring somebody in is John Engfer. And John and I met in, I think we decided it was 2015.
2014, but
2014,
yeah,
okay.
15.
Until 2015.
Yeah, that's right.
Long ago, in a place far, far away, I had more hair, and Greg Wisher will vouch for me there. A little more hair, didn't I?
A little bit, not a lot.
Greg and I worked at the Dakota County Jail. We were deputies in the jail. And John was an inmate at the time, and he was in a program we did called Inmates Motivated to Change. And if there was ever someone, Greg could tell me if I'm wrong, someone that exemplified an inmate motivated to change, it was John Engfer. I told him when we kind of reconnected that you had maybe not a vision, but had it in his head. He was so positive, knew where he was gonna go. And if I've ever heard the phrase, and any of you that know John might have heard this phrase before. You ever hear him say, iron sharpens iron? Anyone?
I've heard that.
Yeah. So John would say that, and I thought early on, if there's ever anybody that's gonna make it, it's gonna be John Engfer. And he has held true to that every day. So pleased to welcome John Engfer today.
Well, thanks for the introduction. First of all, give yourselves a hand. What I mean in that is that you haven't quit, right? You're here for a reason. You're trying to find your way. You're trying to find your place. And sometimes slow down and take a look and give yourself some credit, because you don't have to be here, right? So I value your time, and I hope you value mine. I'm fortunate to be alive. I've been through some things, some tough lessons, hard-won wisdom, and I'm really grateful for undeserved grace. God is, certainly schools us, and everybody might have a different belief in that. So I don't ever project the way I think is how you need to think. But I can tell you is that looking back, for over 15 years, I tried to make sense of nonsense. I tried to reason chaos. I tried to make a wrong right, and without realizing that I lost my identity. I look at, when I really took time to reflect and realize that what I had done to myself, standing in front of a judge. Who wants to stand in front of a judge? Any hands? Right? It's embarrassing. It's humiliating, right? It's degrading to the degree that you got to recognize who we're giving our power to. And for me, I realized that more importantly, I misrepresented myself. I misrepresented who I'm with. My family. I was fortunate. I come from good people. I was raised to make us better, not worse. When I was caught up in the dope game, man, it was chaos, right? I couldn't, nothing really ever turned out the way I wanted it to, right? Other than I seemed to get in trouble. Without even knowing it, I was causing harm. When I was hurting me, I was hurting you, I was hurting people I was with unintentionally. And I think that's where there's what we call as a moral injury, where we compromise a value. right? And then now there's a soul wound. And for some of you that have been through some things and you care, that's a beautiful thing. But you gotta forgive yourself. You know, it's like, life isn't easy, but it's how we respond is what makes us who we are, right? And so I feel, you know, in 2014, I had an awakening, right? I didn't, trust me, from the time in early 2000 when I went off, left, in the street, I got caught up in a world I didn't know. I was a little bit of addicted to adventure and things I didn't know as far as, like, who are you with, right? I messed up, I might as well really screw up, right? And, it was a vicious spiral, a downfall. I lost a lot of respect. I unfortunately I was not regarded or disqualified or posed as a risk or maybe not included. All these things that really people that actually you thought you had good connection with, they weren't there anymore, right? And so I really struggled in that. So what happened is I got distant, and I never really truly took action again. And in 2014, I went back to exactly where I said I wouldn't go. I don't know how many people have been there, and I already, I was like, I already knew better, right? But because of that, I also created more of a distance and disconnected so much faster. And when I did come back up, I was incarcerated. The community was upset with me. My family was upset with me. I made a call into my dad. It was day before Christmas. I still remember it. And I said, hey, he says, well, I hope you're happy your Uncle John is no longer with us. And it was the first time in my life I realized that what's important to me, man, is being there when it counts, right? And the people that mean the most to me were there for me when it counted. My dad was one of those guys. And I didn't really say much after that. And ended up, I was in Hennepin County, and I was in the holding, waiting for transition to Dakota County. I had multiple charges for I was a horrible criminal, right? I mean, busting checks and boosting credit cards and expired my own means and all the things that, just to what, right? Keep her going for a little longer, right? And it's, looking back at it, it's really made me who I am, the good and the bad. And it always made me a better person. But I still had to own it, and I still had to work through it. By the time Dakota County came to get me, I had 48 hours. I had people trying to be rap stars. I had, talking about their lifestyles, right? Or I couldn't sleep. I was not in a good position. Christmas, Dakota County came to get me at midnight. They made me sit in that damn holding cell. How many people have been in that cell, right? For literally almost a half a day, right? All through the morning. I think it was later, almost before noon, that I actually got into a different unit. But I'll never forget that, right? And when I was asked to come back, I realized that I get triggered in that because I get mad at myself, right? I did that to me, right? I gave the wrong people power to tell me where I needed to go, when I needed to do what I was doing. Otherwise, the little freedom that we did have would even got worse. Dakota County makes it real hard on inmates. They give you bologna sandwiches every night. It's not a place you want to be at, really. But then you got to also look at yourself. What got you there, right? And by the time that reality hit, right, I was like, what is it that I need to do here to get myself out of exactly where I should never have been, or where for whatever it's worth, didn't want to be. And I ended up having an interaction with my dad. He came down to see me, and this is where it all starts. I said, what can I do? I didn't have anything to say, and I didn't really want to say anything. He said, all in. And all in means right with family and right with community. In order for me to do and be true to that, I had to get right with me. I think my bail was like $25,000. I'm sure I could have figured a way out. I sent him, I heard about inmates motivated to change. I sent Tom, Deputy Schneider at the time, an email trying to get in. He said, you have to be patient. And I'm like, you know what, I'm not trying to really sit, in isolation all day, because that's really what 2100 is. You're in jumpsuits and you get out to get a little bag of chips. It's hell, right? It's not a way to live a life, man. And I really got mad at myself, right? I had to fight through some of the injustice and justice and the oppressors and condemners and all the character defamation that goes alongside with being incarcerated, and then also dealing with that toxicity of your brothers and sisters that are in there struggling and are unhappy themselves, right? And there's not a lot of real good conversations, and so I was whatever it is I can do. I went, fortunately was led into the Inmates Motivated to Change unit. I worked as an inmate worker, with humility. I didn't want to clean cells or clean all the uniforms, and I was dealing in the hole, and it was terrorism in there. You want to get schooled on temperance, right? It's just, there's all these different things that come at you that can either make you or break you, right? And if you really self-reflect and look back at, it's really uncomfortable. And I think that the process is set for that, right? You shouldn't have to go back there. Look at us right now. We got a chance. We're alive. It's a gift, right? And to honor and respect ourselves, that's important. But then we have to acquire and utilize the disciplines to stay true to that, right? Just because you get caught up in a lifestyle that causes you harm and consequence doesn't mean you have to stay there or keep going back there, right? I think I walked by your office one time and you said it was like a dog returning to his crap, and I said, yeah, I understand that. That's how I felt being there again, right? And so I really want to set the stage forward here, though. I can go back and tell you what I went through. I've been in a high-speed chase. I've been, my leg tore open by a police dog. I've been held up in a home invasion. I've had a trunk popped up on me. I've been excessive force, been beat down by law enforcement going out of a third-story window, handcuffed to a bed, cracked ribs, stitches, and then released. I've had a screwdriver, knife to me. I've had so many different things that what we call, I do work with veterans now, so there's some major trauma that I went through in my life, right? I'm lucky to be alive, right? But at the same time, I go back into that hell. I can share that in my story, right? But the reality is that's not where I'm at. And that's not who I want to be, and that's not who I want to be with, right? So all in, right with family, right with community, I had to get right with me, and no one really was listening to me, nor did they care to hear me, right? So I had to really stay true to what I said and what I was doing every single day. And I'm not proud of what happened in my life, right? And I say this from here. I'm proud of who I'm with. And I'm proud of what I've had to do to get back. Because I look to my left and I look to my right, and I don't see a lot of people that are staying true to what they say and what they do. And that goes for people who are also working in law enforcement, as you see, and also in some reputable positions in corporations and companies. You have to understand ethical considerations in who you are and who you're with and what do you represent. These two, I actually really liked, right? There was some guards that, I got a buddy of mine, a guy who I consider like a brother. He's this is what you call a brother, somebody who's there for you, supports you. Jake Taylor, in hockey, somebody cross-checks you from behind, you take their number and you come back and get them, right? But what God calls you to do is come back and love. Say, I'm with you, not against you, but what you're doing isn't right. Right? We're going to be assertive, right? And I'm seeing a lot of restructuring happening in corrections. It's pretty amazing. And a lot of because of some of the things that we're actually putting in application And hopefully those are some of the gains that you can also take forward for yourself today. Is if we get so caught up in who did what wrong, where, and why, versus what can I do better considering where I'm at right now, if I just frickin' simplify it, right, and stay true to what I say I'm gonna do right now, right, and actually take actions, and stop talking about it, and actually, you heard that, be about it. At the end of the day, the world can think what it wants of you, right? And this is almost 9 years ago, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, right? I'll tell you what, I take our core over any of them. I wouldn't want to go against what's in and around me. I know I did. I didn't get too far, right? Because God will show you, right, humility. He'll show you grace, mercy, right? Things that as men and women that we can really take hold of, right? And get a little better every single day, right? So if you feel like somehow, some way, somebody's making it harder on you, right? Lean into that, right? Lean into it. Whatever it is, right? That's interference. You can't control that, but what you can do is control how you persevere and work through. That's what builds resilience. And what I like to bring is grit, right? Facing everyday adversity with unyielding resolve, right? Because life isn't easy, man. You can plan to plan and something else happens. And next thing you know, it's like, well, it didn't work out. Maybe it's you're gonna go to I really like this job. This company seems like perfect fit for me. And then they call you and they say, we see you got a history. Or hey, there's something that came up that it doesn't look like you're gonna be a good match. So that doesn't mean that wasn't for you anyways, right? I don't want to be around somebody who doesn't want to be around me. What was I doing to me in that? And for years I understand that. I lost my self-worth, man, right? I didn't have that confidence that, really you deserve to have of you, man. To value, you all have strengths, inherent strengths in you. I assure you that. And if you work to believe in that and work to harness those strengths, right, and master your craft, great things can happen. But all of a sudden, if you keep going, right, that door is shut, keep knocking, right? God isn't finished with us, right? If anything, he's making us stronger, right? When you persevere, right, it says something. I have faith. I trust the process. I don't always understand the process, right? I don't always like the process. I mean, who in here likes the process at times, especially when things don't work for you? But it actually can also define you. Remember, the past does not define you, it prepares you. It's the intention that you take moving forward from this point on is what's going to make you who you are. And the part that I missed was I also want to make sure that I make people around me better, not worse, right? You guys deserve the best of me, and I'm going to stay true to that. I'm going to keep striving to get better myself, right? And that's where you hear the iron sharpens iron. I try to put myself with people who make me better, or they challenge me to be better. It doesn't mean they're up all in my business and doubting. There's nothing good in doubting. I played a professional level hockey, right? I fell, but I was taught to get up, right? I've had to fight through a number of different things in my life. Certain teams I didn't make, certain teams I made. For the most part, I had an unbelievable experience. I was fortunate to have. I worked hard in that game. But the greatest game is life, and everyone has something, within themselves, as I said, right? So never quit. Some of you have been down a different kind of game, and that the street is no joke, right? I've met some men in my time that didn't have dads, right? Or didn't have moms, or whatever it is that maybe they didn't have that somebody else had. I've seen those same people, some of the best people I've met that have been hit in life, really make something of themselves in life and become a better dad than they ever had because they know the value of that position. Does that make sense? And that goes for all of us. As a son, as a brother, as a friend, as a significant other. I waited almost 7 years before I got in a relationship. 7. How the heck was I going to get in a relationship with a woman when my finances were all over the place? I had debt I didn't pay into. I almost made well over 6 figures. I worked hard, in 2013. And as out there, I made a lot of people a lot of money. I was swindled too. All that, so I let a lot of wrong things into me too. But what was I about? To have disciplines, to have that self-accountability and to be responsible. Trustworthy and reliable is attractive. It is. But you're responsible for you, man. And if somebody else tells you any different, they're lying. Or they're trying to handhold you. Mental health's $1 billion industry for a reason. If we keep talking about where you've been as opposed to where you're going, how are you ever going to be truly happy? It's the truth, man. It doesn't mean that you don't have somebody you can interact with and share your battles and your struggles. I think there's some amazing therapists out there, right? I'm a licensed counselor myself, but I'm not going to handhold you, right? I wouldn't be doing a good job for you, and I might not be for you then, right? Did you do what you said you're going to do, right? Did you take action? Did you show up, right? If you want to get better, right, you got to work at it. To be your best, man, you got to give your best. It's the truth, right? So stop beating ourselves up and blaming everybody else. Take initiative, starting right now. And I'm telling you, when you do, right, and you look at somebody in the eye, and remember, you're a soul. You have value. There is no partiality in God. My understanding of God is that it's love. Right? Jesus means to save. And sometimes we make that more than what it is because somebody that projected, they claim to know God and it's somewhat unattractive, right? And that's not who you have to be. But realizing that we're all a part of this, all of us. And your actions and your words matter, more so than maybe you realize. And there's some really good men and women out there. And there's employers, believe it or not, that are in positions that they pay well, right? To people that actually are intentional and have shown and demonstrated consistency in their words and actions. And all of a sudden, they want to hire you. I always said, man, part of why I do what I do, and I'll get into that right at the end, is because I saw, man, some of these guys I crossed paths with in life, and Deputy Wisher, and man, if they were doing half of what they've been doing wrong and right, we're going to have a safer community and a better economy, right? And there are some felony-friendly companies that actually are run by, ex-felons. And a felon is just a label, right? It sounds like you could be talking to somebody and I could tell you, hey, I'm a 17-time convicted felon. They'd be like, what? I'm also a 2-time All-American. Right? Wow, well, they don't know what to think. Well, the world puts all these labels on ourselves, right? Versus that, you know what, today, guys, like you, I got an opportunity to improve. And I'm grateful that God gave me grace. And if there's anything that I can give today, is to reclaim your identity and take charge of your health and your life again. And start to put yourself around people, places, and things that make you better, not worse. There's a lot of lived experience in this room. How many hands go up? Do you guys feel like you at least know who you don't want to be or where you shouldn't be? You see, right? Look at everyone. There's no big I, little you, right? Remember, I grew up in a hockey locker room. I know some hockey locker rooms I don't want to be in, right? I know some great people that work in law enforcement, and I know some other people in law enforcement, I don't know how the hell they got their job, right? That's not for me to judge, and it's not for me to check. What it is for me to check is who am I? Who am I with? What am I about? And what am I doing to back that? So I'm going to start with a couple things that I hopefully you can feel from my heart is get mad at yourself, right? You deserve better. And the part that I hope that if there's anything I can say, and I'm going to come over this way, love this guy by the way, is you deserve the best of me too. People around you, they need you too. It isn't all about us. It's about each other. And if I'm hurting me, man, I'm hurting you. And if you're going to go and apply for a position, and you're for some reason not believing that you're going to be able to overcome a struggle, or you might not be able to be there, and all of these things that you bring into play, you might not be ready yet, right? And it's up to you to see that in yourself, right? Versus, hey, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll take advantage of an opportunity. I just want a chance. Can I get back in a game? You know, I have I feel a great brotherhood and sisterhood. I got some really good sisters in my life too. I love when I can gain and grow. But it's when I really look at, okay, how do I truly align myself up with that kindred spirit that cares and that also is consistent and diligent back to me, right? That it's attractive, and there is a connection that I still have to strive to be my best in. Easier said than done, but I'm telling you, the right thing is there. It's just a matter of getting there. So what it comes down to is making an honest commitment to positive change, whatever that is. And what does that look like? Bear with me real quick. Got my glasses here.